Okay, so you're ready to dive back into keto with us. But this time, we're tackling a tricky topic. Those frustrating weight loss plateaus that can really throw a wrench in your progress. You're doing all the right things, embracing the high-fat, low-carb lifestyle. But the scale just won't budge.
Yeah, it's like you hit a wall.
Exactly. But don't worry, you're in the right place. In this deep dive, we're going to play Keto Detective and uncover those hidden culprits behind those plateaus. We've got some intel from three great sources today: Medical News Today, Medicine Net, and Carb Manager.
And believe me, they've got some surprising insights.
Oh, I bet. I'm ready to get to the bottom of this.
Well, it's fascinating because sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't some complex metabolic puzzle. It's the simple fact that people might not actually be in ketosis.
So even though we're all keto savvy here, it's back to basics. I'm almost afraid to ask, but what are the biggest mistakes people make?
Oh, you'd be surprised how sneaky carbs can be. It's not just the obvious bread and pasta. It's sauces, dressings, even some veggies. They can add up and kick you out of ketosis without you even realizing it.
Okay, so we need to be serious carb detectives. But even if we're diligently tracking those net carbs, like Carb Manager really emphasizes, could there be other reasons we hit that wall?
Absolutely. One myth we need to bust right away is this idea that you can just eat unlimited calories on keto and still expect to lose weight.
I think I'm guilty of that.
It's easy to fall into that trap. You can't just swap a plate of pasta for a mountain of cheese and expect the pounds to melt away.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of the cheese mountain scenario. So even though we're focusing on macros, calories still count.
100%. Carb Manager gives a great example. You grab a handful of almonds, thinking it's a healthy keto snack, but boom, you've just downed 400 calories.
Wow.
Energy balance still applies, no matter what diet you're on. You have to burn more than you consume to see results.
Okay, that's a wake-up call for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not just about what we're eating, right? I'm sensing there are other factors at play here.
You're right on the money. Both Carb Manager and Healthline brought up something I found really interesting. They emphasize the importance of protein.
Yeah, protein.
Not just for feeling full and satisfied, which is key for avoiding those keto cravings, but also for preserving muscle mass while you're losing fat.
Now, that's something I hadn't considered. So too little protein could actually backfire, even if you're nailing those carbs and fats.
Exactly. And it makes sense. Muscle burns more calories than fat. So holding on to that muscle, it's like giving your metabolism a boost, even when you're at rest.
That's a game changer. I'm starting to feel like a keto detective already.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, sometimes those cravings hit hard, even when we're eating enough protein. What about snacking? Is that a keto no-no?
Well, all of our sources agree that constant snacking, even on keto-friendly foods, can be a major roadblock. Medicine Net explains it well. When you're constantly eating, your body never gets the chance to tap into its fat reserves. You're basically interrupting those natural fat-burning cycles.
So it's not just about what we're snacking on, but how often. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is that Healthline suggested something super practical. If cravings hit, reach for some non-starchy veggies instead of those keto cookies.
Okay.
They're low in calories, full of fiber. They can help you feel full without the carb overload.
Great tip. Okay, now for a twist in our keto mystery. Carb Manager and Healthline both mention two factors I wouldn't normally associate with diet. Stress and sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Are you telling me my late-night Netflix binges are affecting my weight loss?
It might sound surprising, but yes. They explain that stress hormones, like cortisol, can actually encourage your body to store fat. And lack of sleep can throw those hunger hormones out of whack. Makes you feel way hungrier than you actually are.
Wow, I had no idea. So it's not just about what's on my plate, but also what's going on in my head and how well I'm sleeping.
That's the key takeaway. It's about the big picture, that mind-body connection we always hear about.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, so we've got sneaky carbs, calorie bombs disguised as healthy snacks, the protein power play, the snack attack, and now stress and sleep sabotage. But what if you're doing all of this right and still hitting a wall? Could there be something else going on?
That's a great question. It leads us to another important clue. Sometimes weight loss struggles can stem from underlying medical conditions. Something Healthline touched on. They mentioned hypothyroidism, PCOS, and even certain medications. That can make it harder to lose weight.
Whoa, I hadn't thought about that. So even if you're a keto superstar, there could be a medical reason behind that stubborn plateau.
Precisely. And this is a good time to remind you, we're not doctors. And this deep dive isn't a substitute for medical advice.
Of course.
If you suspect something else might be going on, it's always best to consult with a healthcare professional.
Excellent point. Now back to the diet itself. Healthline made a statement that really resonated with me. Weight loss isn't always linear. Plateaus are normal.
No, true.
It's not a sign of failure. It's just part of the process.
I think that's so important to remember. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see those numbers on the scale moving. But it's crucial to celebrate those non-scale victories. Increased energy, better sleep, fitting into those jeans that were a little snug before.
Those wins definitely matter. Okay, let's talk about something that I know can be a slippery slope. Even on keto, those healthy sweets, Carb Manager pointed out that even keto-friendly desserts can be sneaky calorie bombs.
Oh, yeah.
Let's swap that slice of cake for a keto brownie. But those calories can still add up quickly.
It's true. Sometimes those healthy alternatives can even be more calorie dense than the real deal.
Oh, no. So even if it fits your macros, it might be sabotaging your progress.
It's definitely something to consider. It all comes back to mindfulness. Are you truly hungry, or are you just looking for that sweet satisfaction? And are your meals satisfying enough that you're not constantly craving something extra?
Those are some great questions to reflect on. Okay, last but not least, what about alcohol? Can a little keto-friendly cocktail throw a wrench in things?
Well, our sources didn't delve too deeply into this. Carb Manager did mention that even low-carb alcohol can temporarily disrupt ketosis. Might be worth experimenting with reducing your alcohol intake, or even taking a break to see if it makes a difference.
All right, so we've uncovered a lot of potential culprits behind those keto plateaus. But we're only halfway through our investigation. We've still got more to unpack with Medical News Today and MedicineNet, so stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive. We'll uncover even more secrets to cracking the keto code.
Welcome back. We're picking up right where we left off, unraveling the mysteries of keto weight loss plateaus.
I have to admit, I've always been a little fuzzy on the whole ketosis thing. Can we dig a bit deeper into how it actually works and maybe pinpoint where things could go wrong?
Absolutely. Medical News Today actually does a great job of breaking it down, basically. Our bodies usually run on glucose from carbs, but when we drastically cut those carbs, like we do on keto, our body has to find a new energy source. That's where fat comes in. Our liver starts breaking down fat into these molecules called ketones, and voila, we're in ketosis.
So fat becomes fuel, I get it. But Medical News Today also mentioned that sometimes people think they're in ketosis, but they're not. How can you tell for sure?
Well, sometimes those sneaky carbs can slip in unnoticed, and we might not even be hitting that magic low-carb threshold to actually trigger ketosis.
Uh-oh.
That's why Medical News Today suggests those home ketone testing kits. They can give you a clear picture of whether you're truly in ketosis or not.
It's like a keto lie detector test. I love it. Speaking of things that might surprise us, I've always thought of protein as a good thing, especially for building muscle. But I've heard that too much protein can actually hinder ketosis. Is there any truth to that?
There is. MedicineNet explains that if we consume more protein than our body needs for its essential functions, that extra protein can actually be converted into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis.
Gluconeogenesis.
Gluconeogenesis. Yeah, it's a mouthful. But basically, it's the body's way of making glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, like protein.
Oh, I see.
And remember, glucose is what we're trying to avoid on keto.
Right. So even too much of a good thing can become a problem on keto.
It's all about balance, finding that sweet spot for your individual needs.
I hear that.
And speaking of things we might not expect, Medical News Today brought up another interesting point. Even sugar alcohols, which are often marketed as keto-friendly sweeteners, can sometimes be problematic. They specifically called out maltitol, which can still impact blood sugar levels, potentially kicking us out of ketosis.
So not all sugar substitutes are created equal.
It's a good reminder to read those labels carefully.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about exercise. I know we've been focusing a lot on diet, but MedicineNet emphasizes that even on keto, you can't escape the fundamental laws of physics. To lose weight, we still need to burn more calories than we consume.
Exactly. Exercise helps us do just that. It helps us burn calories, build muscle, boost metabolism. It's a win-win-win.
For sure.
And Medical News Today even suggests that just increasing your daily activity level can make a difference.
Like what kinds of things?
Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Walk the dog an extra block. Every little bit counts.
I love that. Simple changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Now back to our keto detective work. Both Medical News Today and MedicineNet highlighted the impact of stress on weight loss. They explained that stress triggers the release of cortisol.
Great. Cortisol.
And cortisol can actually lead to fat storage.
It's amazing how interconnected our minds and bodies are. Stress can literally make us gain weight.
Wow.
That's why it's crucial to find healthy ways to manage that stress. Whether it's meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, whatever helps you unwind.
Stress management is self-care. And speaking of self-care, let's not forget about sleep. MedicineNet explains that when we don't get enough sleep, it messes with those hunger hormones, making us feel hungrier and more likely to overeat.
It's like a vicious cycle. Sleep deprivation leads to stress. Stress leads to overeating. And overeating can stall our weight loss progress.
It all comes back to taking care of ourselves.
That's the key. True wellness involves taking care of our whole selves, mind, body, and spirit.
Absolutely. I'm feeling so much more enlightened already. But before we wrap up part 2, there's one last point from Healthline that I think is incredibly important. They reminded us that weight loss isn't always a straight line down. Plateaus are normal.
That's true.
It's not a sign of failure. It's just part of the process.
That's so important to remember. It's easy to get discouraged when that scale doesn't budge. But it's crucial to focus on the bigger picture. Celebrate those non-scale victories, like increased energy, better sleep, or just feeling good in your own skin.
Those are the wins that really matter. So we've delved deep into the science of ketosis, busted some protein myths, explored the sneaky world of sugar substitutes, and learned how stress, sleep, and even exercise can impact our keto journey. But hold on, we're not done yet. We still have one more source to explore. Carb Manager. And they've got some unique insights. That might just be the missing piece of the puzzle. We've covered so much ground already. Sneaky carbs, the power of protein, the importance of sleep. But now it's time to bring in our final expert witness, Carb Manager. They really get into the nitty-gritty of keto. I'm curious to see what clues they have to offer.
I think they have a really practical approach. They're really big on tracking your macros carefully. They even have their own app for that.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
A lot of people find it really helpful. It's like having a keto coach in your pocket.
I can see how that would be super useful.
Yeah.
Especially for spotting those hidden carbs and calories that can sabotage our efforts. It's easy to underestimate how much we're actually consuming, even when we think we're making healthy choices.
Exactly. And you know what I found really interesting? Carb Manager emphasizes getting enough protein on keto, not just for muscle mass, but for satiety. They explain that protein helps us feel full and satisfied, which can make a big difference in reducing cravings and preventing overeating.
That makes a lot of sense. If we're constantly feeling hungry, it's going to be way harder to stick to the keto plan. But even with enough protein, sometimes we need a little extra boost to kick those cravings to the curb. Any tips from Carb Manager on that front?
They actually suggest incorporating intermittent fasting into your keto routine.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Heard a lot about that lately.
They recommend a daily fasting period of 12 to 16 hours, which they say can help boost ketone production and accelerate fat burning.
Okay, that sounds intense. The thought of going that long without eating makes me a little nervous.
It can seem daunting at first, but it's all about finding what works best for you. There are different approaches to intermittent fasting, so you can experiment and find a rhythm that suits your lifestyle.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Now, I was also surprised to see that Carb Manager touched on the importance of managing stress. Just like our other sources, they even suggest techniques like meditation, yoga, or spending time in nature.
It just goes to show you that true wellness is about so much more than just food. It's about taking care of our mental and emotional well-being, too.
It's all connected.
And Carb Manager seems to embrace that holistic approach. They even suggest joining a supportive community for motivation and accountability on your keto journey.
That's a great idea.
Sharing your journey with others who understand the challenges and the triumphs can make a huge difference. It's inspiring to connect with people on the same path.
Absolutely. So there you have it. We've explored the science behind the keto diet, uncovered common pitfalls, and discovered some powerful strategies for breaking through those plateaus.
We've learned that those plateaus can happen for a variety of reasons, from sneaky carbs and calorie bombs, to stress, lack of sleep, and even underlying medical conditions. And it's not just about what we eat, but how we live.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. What works for one person might not work for another. So it's all about experimenting, listening to your body, and finding what works best for you.
And that's where this deep dive comes in. We've given you the tools to be your own keto detective. So the question is, what's one thing you're going to change today? Based on what you've learned, what step are you going to take to reignite your keto journey?
We encourage you to keep exploring the resources we've discussed. Most importantly, keep learning and growing on your own health journey. you've got this.